Good morning, everybody. We are live betting for breakfast, and it is a beautiful day to bet sports today. I'm so excited for the lineup. We have an action-packed show lined up for today. We have college football playoffs, the Final Four of the FCS. We have the NFL draft impact and how that shaped the landscape of the NFL futures market. We're going to talk about that. We're even going to get into some fantasy dynasty plays for everybody. We have a ton lined up. Aaron Rodgers, the big news, brings the cheese to their knees. Trey Lance in San Francisco. We're going to hit it all. I can't wait. And I brought the man with me to do it, Dave Gleckner. Dave, you got to be pumped up for today. We got college football playoff Saturday. We got NFL in full swing. Tons of movement going on as far as, hey, what are the Broncos going to do? What are the Packers going to do? And, of course, the San Francisco 49ers were really the linchpin of the entire draft, and they settled on Trey Lance.
Yeah, it's going to be a great day. Talk some sports with you, bud. Just get warmed up for the day. What a great day it's going to be. We got a lot going on. We still got the Wells Fargo we're checking out. We got some baseball action. Obviously, talked FCS. So, and we got to talk about the NFL draft. So we'll get into that and look in a little bit, maybe some dynasty stuff. I know you out there, if you're like me, your draft might be tomorrow. The next day, it's coming up soon. Who you like? I'll give you who I do, too, as well.
Can't wait to hear it, man. Can't wait to hear it. Yeah, fantasy season for us dynasty players are coming around the corner, and that's my favorite way to play fantasy football. Really a fan of the dynasty over the redraft. The redraft just seems like a lot of work to me. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like there's so much volatility, but I like building. I think that's why people got into fantasy football, so they could be the GM, so they could build the dynasty like the Patriots did, and some of the other teams in the past. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun today. Ton of stuff, but and then of course we're going to give our three plays across all sports at the end. So we give you a little bit of everything. There's a UFC card tonight. I'm going to touch on. Obviously, there's golf action going on with the Wells Fargo. That course has been showing its teeth, Dave.
Yes, it really has. That wind kicked up yesterday afternoon. It was wow. That cut line. Yeah, as you know, DeChambeau was in the plane. He's like, I'm out.
He went to Dallas. He went home thinking he got cut.
Yeah.
And then he had to circle the wagons and get back there for an 8 a.m. tee time. So
and he was playing well. Last time I checked, he was 2 under after 9. So good for him.
Good. Because I need him. I got him on some outright, some top 20 and some top 10s, which seems like a very long shot now. But you're never out of it. So hopefully Bryson has a big day. But let's get this party started with some football. We're going to hit the FCS playoffs a little bit later, but we're going to start with the NFL futures because that is really, the whole story of the NFL draft. The NFL is like 365. It's a machine that never stops, and without any, without any really warning, Adam Schefter comes out with this report of Aaron Rodgers, and there's all kinds of stuff going on with the third pick in San Francisco. Overall, with the draft, Dave, I had a pretty good night. Obviously, I missed on Fields going to San Francisco, but I was able to kind of buy back on Trey Lance a little bit that week because I saw it going away from Fields, and I was already really committed to the Mac Jones over 3.5. So I bought it back a little bit on Fields, but I hit a lot of good stuff. I hit J.C. Horn on the under. I hit the over on the offensive players at 17.5. I hit the Najee Harris under. That was one of the plays that I thought everybody was on, and everybody's like, this makes so much sense. And it actually happened.
Yep. Crazy. Yeah. Same as you. Mac Jones at 3 kind of was the one loss for me, and I was going to back it up with Trey Lance. I felt the Niners were going to just do something different. I didn't feel Fields. I had a lot of money in Fields over the 7.5. That hit. I thought that smoke was real. Luckily, also hitting Kyle Pitts at 4. That was big for me. And I was with you, but J.C. Horn, I played another angle, probably similar. I had him as the first cornerback off the board. So that was a nice plus 330 pick going over Surtain. And you're right. It was a nice overall night. Things went somewhat according to what we thought was the script. But, yeah, of course, there were curveballs, and the Niners started it off. And I think a few teams followed suit later on, especially the Giants dropping back, and which Gettleman has never done. So I think he did it on purpose, but I'm sure we'll get into that one day.
Yeah. Hopefully for the Giants fans' sake, he never does it again, because I think that they were one of the teams that really came out of this not great. I mean, I was really not impressed with what happened. I'm not a big fan of Kadarius Toney. I just think that he's a guy who really benefited from playing with Kyle Pitts. The defense fields 11 people, and all 11 are after Kyle Pitts. And, it's real easy for Toney to get open. Is he going to be able to get open in the NFL? I have some doubts. But, I thought that they didn't get their guy, and they dropped back, and they took a real big reach on Toney. We'll see what it works out. It's a big year for the quarterback, Daniel Jones, and I think they might have been better served just beefing up that offensive line.
Yeah. I mean, I do like what they got back in return, the package. I don't like what they did with it, but so far, I thought they got. I mean,
it's kind of the same thing us Eagles fans go through, right? Like, it's a good package. Its draft capital is good, but you have to hit on those picks, and we don't have a lot of confidence in our GM. And I'm sure they don't have a lot of confidence in Gettleman. So it's sort of, we're in the same boat in that regard. But it's just hard. Like, people act like these picks are automatic. I think it's like only 50% of round one draft picks between 2005 and 2016 ended up being 4-year starters for that team. So it's and that's round one. It's a crapshoot. When you get into round 3, it's like 18%. So it's not easy to hit these draft picks. So if you got the capital, you got to take advantage. One team that I thought that did was the Miami Dolphins. I thought them getting Jalen Waddle and then getting the defensive end later in the first round. I just think they just continue to add talent with these draft picks. They took a lot of heat for tanking. It was the fish tank. We heard all about it. But I think that they're a team that came out of this draft big winners as well.
Yeah, I do too. I think if you look a lot of recaps, they're right up there with a lot of the one of the top 2-3 teams coming out of it. I think you're right hitting. Listen, I like Devontae Smith better for us. Don't get me wrong. But for them to be able to drop from 3 to 6 and get a dynamic receiver like Waddle and get all that other draft capital, and I think they did really well, really well.
Yeah, because Waddle is the perfect fit for them because they have the guys on the outside. They signed Will Fuller. They have Parker, and now they can put Waddle in the middle of the field with Gesicki. And they really have some targets now for Tua, who really struggled last year trying to fit into those tight windows. Miami receivers worse in the league in separation. So it's going to be a different year for them. And I think they're a team that's going to continue to ascend. We'll talk about the AFC East in a little bit because I think that could be one of the toughest divisions this year. And a lot of changes in New York with the Jets, a lot of changes. Miami continues to build. The Patriots are going all in. And then the Bills are going to try and hold the crown. It's a lot easier to be the team that nobody sees coming, but when you're the defending division champs, it gets a little bit tougher. So, they knocked off the big brother in the Patriots, but let's see if they can hold down the fort. I think it's going to be, when you look at the actual, futures market in these divisions, there's some meat on the bone there. There's some meat on the bone as far as the NFL futures are concerned.
There is. And I mean, it's funny. You can go on DraftKings say they put the Packers and Broncos back on there. They were off for a little bit. We don't really know where that's going, but today to look long term, I think we can take a couple peeks at those top 5 teams that took quarterbacks in the first 15 picks and really give it an example or an analysis of where we think they're at and if there's value in the over/under win total.
Yeah, definitely. Let's start there. I mean, I think that's a perfect place to start, to be honest with you. 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round. There was some speculation that they would all go in the top 10. I actually thought they would. It ended up not being the case, but still 5 teams really altering the course of their franchise by making these selections with quarterbacks. And it hasn't really worked out recently. We've seen a lot of the teams that draft quarterbacks early. Not real successful. Sam Darnold has moved on to Carolina, most recently. And it just seems like year after year, Carson Wentz, moves on to Indianapolis. And it'll be interesting to see how many of these 5 actually, these teams got right. But let's start at the top, right? This was an easy one. Everyone knew it was coming. No surprise at all. Trevor Lawrence, the best quarterback prospect probably since Andrew Luck is the comparisons, probably Peyton Manning before that. A lot on his shoulders as he goes to a franchise that has just been miserable. They had that one year they call it lightning in the bottle, went to the AFC Championship with Blake Bortles, and then they let their whole defense go. But Trevor Lawrence goes down south to Jacksonville. And just looking at some of the odds, for Jacksonville to make the playoffs, plus 285. Yes, minus 375. No. Rookie of the year, he's 3-1. Their win total 6.5. The under is getting juiced. That's at minus 134 right now, and they are 7-1 to win the AFC South. And the AFC South is a division, Dave, that I don't have a ton of confidence in. And I have seen the Jaguars being a trendy pick to kind of sneak up on some people this year with Lawrence.
So what do you have their win total at?
6.5, right?
Yeah, okay, we're on the same. Yeah, so
Yep.
I agree, and they are trendy. And let's before we get into what we're going to pick, let's remind everybody 17 games. That makes a little bit of a difference. I know it's probably only roughly a tenth of a win that you got to add to the team, but over the lifespan of it. But when you look at one season, that's a game changer. So now instead of 6-10, 6-11, or 7-10, is a big difference on this number. And for me, when you look at the division in total, like you said, nobody's a believer in Houston. I think they're picking first next year. I don't know. There's some people that will love the Colts, but that first place schedule, and I think the Jacksonville Jags took them to overtime last year and beat them in week 1 with that slop of a team they had. They already had the Colts number. And Tennessee, Tennessee's solid, but they lost Arthur Smith. So how they rebounded that offense. Me personally, I think there's value in the over here. And I think I want to get it before they make a lot more free agent signings and start to round out this team, because they got a lot more cap room. They got some cap casualties that could be on their way that they could scoop up from teams. I like them at the over 6.5. I'm leaning that way. I believe in Trevor Lawrence. I believe in Urban Meyer for years, but that's about it. But this will be one of them. You got me? You're on mute now, bud.
Me?
Yeah, now I hear you. There you are.
All right, perfect. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So you like the over on the Jaguars?
I do. I really do.
I'm actually on the other side of this, and I'll tell you why. And it really has nothing to do with Trevor Lawrence. But I think when I look at all 5 of these quarterbacks, I really think Lawrence might be going to the worst spot, in Jacksonville with Urban Meyer. And I'm just not sure that Urban Meyer knows, what it takes to win at the NFL level. I know he's a guy who's had a ton of success, but I'm just not sure he has what it takes, man. And I'm kind of like, for them to get to 7, they gotta go 7-10. I know they get the extra game, but I think I'm probably on the under with the Jags. I do think Lawrence has a shot at Rookie of the Year at the 3-1. I don't think that's bad value at all. But I just think I don't believe in Urban Meyer, and I don't think the division's tough. They're going to get some free wins with Houston. I think Indianapolis is on the decline. Tennessee obviously not going to be as good again next year, but I just think this Jacksonville team was really, really bad. Roster really depleted. And I don't know. I'm just not a big Urban Meyer guy. I think this is going to be another college coach that kind of comes in and flames out in the NFL.
Yeah, I think that might happen. I'm with you, but I do think he's all in, and I do think he brings a different type of football to this team that they need. They've had too long uncertainty there. Tom Coughlin, they tried to bring in to reshape what was going on, and he's a little old. And I think his methods, along with their previous head coaches, what was it, Malarkey? No, the big O lineman, not Malarkey.
Oh God, what was his name?
The champ, Marone. That's what.
Yep, Marone.
And I mean, he left Buffalo, and what happened to Buffalo? They got better. So it was he left them right when they were 8-8, and look what McDermott's done to them. So I just think they've been stale, and I just feel like this is the year that they kind of jump up at you, and then we'll see them plummet a little next year. I really like the value in the 6.5. I think they're third place in that division in a competitive. Do you see the Colts winning more than 10 games?
No, absolutely not. We'll definitely talk about the Colts in a little bit, but I don't. I mean, the Colts are one of the teams I'm down on, but it's just like you get some wins in that division. But I don't know. I just kind of struggle with, I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is just going to be able to come in and kind of catapult them. I was really kind of I really wasn't in love with their draft either. Like them taking ETN, the running back, in the late first round, really doesn't make much sense. They have so many holes, and that just tells me that I'm not sure they know what they're doing from a roster construction standpoint. It's going to be tough. I think when I look at these, the odds, that revolve around Trevor Lawrence, I really think the Rookie of the Year is probably the best play out of them all, because I don't think the team's going to have a lot of success. But like we saw with Joe Burrow, the team doesn't need to have success. You don't need to win a ton of games to really put up big numbers and make an impact.
Yeah, I think you're right. I do really like that value and that bet. I do. I think he's Rookie of the Year, and really, it's going to take someone like Pitts, Chase, or even Najee Harris. I don't think it comes from another quarterback. I think they're all in tough situations. So it's either Lawrence at the quarterback or one of the top guys in the other position. So if you like quarterback, which they always do, it's the best value for sure. I agree.
So what do you like better? Do you like the win total over for Jacksonville, or do you think they can actually contend for the division at 7-1?
No, I like win total over at 7. I look at a team, to me, they're a little bit similar to Cleveland Browns when they took Baker Mayfield number 1. And they came out and went 7-8-1 the following year. So it's I think after the Cardinals took Kyler Murray, I think they went 5-10. So you will get an uptick. Can we get, it's this weird year of 17 games. Can we get all the way to 7? It'll be a good battle. Yeah. I just don't believe in the division, so that's why I think they can.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't believe in the division. I just don't know if they can get to the 7. But we do agree that they're headed in the right direction with Trevor Lawrence. Even if Urban Meyer flames out, he's still going to be there long term. So he'll be there for the next guy, and it'll be a highly attractive job. But let's move on to the number 2 pick. And this was it wasn't a surprise to me on draft day, but I was really surprised that the Jets got so tunneled in to Zach Wilson early. They select Zach Wilson to be the quarterback of their future over Sam Darnold. And, listen, I'm not the biggest Sam Darnold guy, so I'm not surprised that they moved on. But I just think Wilson was a guy whose splits were very significant from when he played good competition to bad. We were on Coastal Carolina all year. He couldn't do anything against that Coastal Carolina defense, and what was a pretty big game for them. He has the arm. He can make all the throws, but I just don't know about Zach Wilson. I was surprised that he ended up being the second quarterback picked in this draft when the process started. Obviously, draft night, it was no surprise, but the odds around him, Rookie of the Year, 7-1. And their win total again at 6.5. The under is getting pounded. It's at -162. They're +440 to make the playoffs. AFC East, I'm showing them at 20-1 to win that division. So not a lot of confidence in the betting market with their choice of quarterback either.
Yeah, and if you don't know about Zach Wilson, I'll help you out. He's not. He's just not. He's not it for me. I mean, I get what they're trying to draft. I get they're trying to take that high ceiling guy, but man, we saw it. We were close to the competition. We watched, and BYU didn't play much. And even from there, and when they tried to play much, I give them credit. They were trying to play anybody. They finally dialed in Coastal Carolina, but he didn't look great. And for a guy to come with that meteoric rise from year to year, comes kind of smoke signals for me. I'm just a little worried. I think he's high bust potential, maybe the highest of all the 5 that got taken in the first 15 picks. I love the under in this situation. I think they're clearly the last place team in that division. I don't know how they win a division game. Maybe they get 1 against New England. Depends how New England's rolling during the season. But, man, Buffalo, Miami, 2 heavyweights now. Dude, 6.5. How do they get to 7? How do they get to 7 and 10?
Yeah, I'm not sure, man. And I think that they did a great job in building around them. Like they beefed up the offensive line more. They went out and got Corey Davis, right? They got Corey Davis. Yeah. They went out and drafted Elijah Moore, right? So he's going to have a ton of weapons. Like he's going to have a ton of weapons around him, but I don't think he's it, man. So I'm not in on any of these. Obviously, like the win total under, I'm not betting in the -162 and tying my money into that number. Don't think they're making the playoffs. They got no shot at AFC East, and I think he's got no shot at Rookie of the Year. I think that 7-1 line on Rookie of the Year, that's a dead number. He's 5th out of all 5 quarterbacks, I think, in his chance of winning this award.
Yeah, I'm with you. listen, like you said, I like what they're doing. The guy out of Purdue, Moore, right? One of my favorite
Rondell
picks.
Moore.
He just is injured a lot, but he's a little like his thighs are bigger than my body. Like he's enormous. Like he's small and he's hard and tough nose. He's going to fit that city well, but they just got a lot to do to get back into that division. Adam Gase left them pretty empty in the cupboard, and it's going to be a while before they get back. And plus, I'll give you this. They got their 17th game against one of the hardest teams in the NFL, the Eagles. So there's another one.
Green on green. But, yeah, dude, I mean, I think they're in for a long year, and I think they got it wrong with the quarterback. But we'll see. Hey, listen, we don't bat 100% either, but good luck to the Jets fans. I think it's going to be more, the goddamn Jets, into the future. And I think you got to get the quarterback position right. But I think they'll have a good team around them. So when they decide to pull the plug on them, they should be able to get a good veteran quarterback to come in there, and everything will be all set up for success. But speaking of set up for success, man, the third pick was the big intrigue. A lot of people were, was it going to be Mac Jones? Was it going to be Justin Fields? Was it going to be Trey Lance? And Kyle Shanahan goes out and gets the guy who I think has the highest ceiling, and that's Trey Lance, man. And Trey Lance goes to San Francisco, did not play a lot of competition in the FCS, only had 1 year, was tremendous. Kyle Shanahan comes out after the draft, says he was obsessed with him, was sending, Lynch notes at 3 a.m. in January, on Trey Lance. And it's really just, I've said this before. I'm not going to tell you he's Patrick Mahomes because there's one Patrick Mahomes, but I think that he's the guy in this draft class that has the ceiling. He is that quick twitch athlete. He's that explosive athlete. And he has an arm. I mean, he can throw a rope for 70 yards. And the trajectory on the ball is just like a missile. And he has all the physical tools. And he's going into what I think is a tremendous situation with San Francisco. They get that Super Bowl, that defense that carried them to the Super Bowl. They get a lot of those people back healthy, Bosa and all that gang. And they have even more weapons on offense now. So the only question to me with Trey Lance is how early is he going to play? How soon is Jimmy Garoppolo going to hand over the torch to Trey Lance?
Yeah, I agree. It can be as early as week 1. I mean, obviously a lot of that's going to, factor itself out during OTAs and their training camp. But, as much as they've invested in, much as they've already played their cards and said Jimmy's not good enough, there's a mental aspect of this thing. And I think we could see Trey Lance as early as week 1. And if that's the case, Garoppolo will probably be traded late in the season. Didn't that happen to Kirk Cousins a little bit too? Didn't it?
Yeah, it could definitely happen. Especially if there's like an injury in training camp or something like that to a quarterback. All of a sudden, as we saw here in Philadelphia with Sam Bradford, teams get really, desperate and they'll pay a high price and they'll meet that price to move Garoppolo. But when we look at the odds for Trey Lance and the San Francisco 49ers to win the NFC West tied with the Rams at plus 180, Trey Lance to be the week 1 starter. Dave, you mentioned it, plus 220. They are minus 177 to make the playoffs. Everybody thinks they're getting in 14-1 to the Super Bowl and 6-1, higher than Zach Wilson, the number 2 pick. To be rookie of the year. And I'll tell you, Dave, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a big Trey Lance guy. I'm a big FCS guy. I think that all these plays, I would not bet into the minus 177 to make the playoffs, just because I don't know if I want to tie up money for 6 months betting into that kind of number. Yeah. But I think the rookie of the year, there's value. I think the Super Bowl, there's value. I think week 1 starter, there's a ton of value at plus 220. And to win the NFC West, I think there's value of plus 180. I think that's a good number. I think that when you get to training camp and the team sees Trey Lance come in there and they see the throws and they see the ability, the team's going to be like, man, Jimmy was a nice guy. So let's go.
Yeah, I'm with you. You stole my thought. Yeah, I'm going plus 220 opening day starter. Kyle Shanahan's, you already saw him kind of play as, a pretty good poker player with taking Trey Lance there at 3. This guy doesn't go by NFL standards, even though he came from, the tree from his dad that's been in the league forever. He goes with what he thinks is best for his team. And when he thinks that, and I still remember the game against Green Bay Packers in NFC Championship, he said, I'm not throwing the ball. I'm not throwing the ball. I'm still going to run for 400 yards against you. Right down. He ran like 3 different running plays all game. He knows what works. He knows. And if he thinks Trey Lance gives him the best shot of winning, which I know he already thinks, he just needs to catch up, he's starting him week 1. It's happening. And I love the over 10.5. I think for me, they could be the best team in that division. It happens so much. I'm not a fan of Arizona. I really think they were smoke and mirrors last year. I think they declined. I think Seattle declines. The talk up there about trade Russ, let Russ cook. There's just
too much going on, man.
Yeah, and they let a little bit go away up there that I don't love. And then LA, we know they made the big trade to bring Stafford over, but really, does that solidify them as that much better than what they were before? Jury's still out on that. I think San Fran's the top dog in this division. Give me 10.5. They go at least 11-6.
Yeah, I do too, man. And I love San Fran. I love the Rams too. I'm going to be honest with you. I do think there's a big gap between Stafford and Goff. And I think that, they're going to have they're going to do some good things, but only one team can win the division, man. And I just think that, the Niners getting their defense healthy. I liked them before they even made the trade, to get the quarterback. And now that they drafted the quarterback and seeing the quarterback that they selected gets me even more excited. I think there's a real chance Trey Lance could be Rookie of the Year at 6-1 too, because they're going to win a ton of games. He's going to be highly efficient. He's going to have rushing yards. He's going to do it with his legs. He's going to do it with his arm. He's a very likable guy. You know what I mean? He has a great head on his shoulders. So I think that, I like that play at 6-1 with Lance more than I do betting into 3-1 with Lawrence, even though Lawrence might be the better prospect.
And let's be honest. If you're starting week 1, you got a great chance of winning Rookie of the Year.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, man. And like I said, not saying Lance is the better quarterback, although he very well might be. I think he has the higher ceiling. But I just think he's going into such a better situation. It's a tough division, so it's going to be a little tougher winning games from that perspective. But love everything about Trey Lance and love everything about him going to the Niners. They're definitely one of my bets this year, to make it to the Super Bowl. And then that moves to, who was really the story. People initially thought Justin Fields was going to be going to the Niners. I was one of them. Slides all the way outside of the top 10. Chicago Bears jump up and grab him. And he goes into an offense with Matt Nagy that I think it's really important for people to understand. This offense was very successful with very subpar quarterback play when they were able to protect the quarterback and run the football, right? When they were able to protect and run, we saw Foles have success. We saw Trubisky have success. When that stuff fell apart, that's when we saw that those two quarterbacks were not good enough, they're really going to get it done in Chicago. The defense was always there. They fell apart a little bit towards the end of last year. But, this is a team that made the playoffs, right? They were in the playoffs last year.
Yep.
They lost to the Saints, right? Yeah, made the playoffs last year. Now they get Justin Fields. Now they get the quarterback, has all the tools. The one knock against them that I heard is that, there is some data out there that shows when he's pressured, he has a little bit more of a difficult time, which is typical for quarterbacks, but he's going to face a lot of pressure, in the NFL. They're going to get after the quarterback, regardless of how good your offensive line is. Defensive coordinator is going to try and make you uncomfortable. But this is a team, the Bears team. We look at this division, a lot of uncertainty with the Packers. The Vikings, I was surprised that they didn't go heavy on defense in the draft. They bulked up the offensive line in the trenches. I think that team still has some work to do. And of course, the Detroit Lions, they're like the, Houston Texans of the North. I mean, they go out and get Dan Campbell talking about biting kneecaps. So I think the division is ripe. I thought it was ripe last year. I was wrong. The Packers were the cream of the crop, but we don't know if Aaron Rodgers is coming back. We look at some of the numbers here for Justin Fields. For the Bears to win the division, plus 350. For Fields to be the week 1 starter over the Red Rifle, plus 160. Win total 7.5. The over is at minus 125. Playoffs, yes, plus 163. And rookie of the year 6-1, the same number as Trey Lance. As much as I like Justin Fields, I think that number provides more value to Trey Lance for sure.
Yeah, so you said the one knock on Fields. My other knock I've seen is he doesn't throw you open. He kind of reminds me in that sense of Carson Wentz. A little hesitant to throw the ball, to throw people open. He waits till you get open. Doesn't work in the NFL. No, now is that something? If that's a knock on my quarterback, is that something that's fixable? Yeah. So he's got the physical metrics, he's got the traits, and he's got some of the other things that I like when you talk about quarterbacks, and he's got a good head on his shoulder. So I do think he can be a good NFL quarterback. I do have my concerns in his landing spot here. Name me the last good Bears quarterback.
Yeah, Jim McMahon. Yeah, we went through Cutler. He was awful. We went through, Grossman, Jim Miller. Yeah, just bad. It's funny. I was talking about that on the Daily Ticket with Sean Brace yesterday, and I was just like, man, like they went through like the quarterback has been such a, it was almost like the goalie here in Philadelphia with the Flyers. Yeah. Like we could just never get the goalie right, and they can never get the quarterback right. And I think they finally did get it right. It's going to be up to Matt Nagy and them to kind of build, the right team around them. But he does have, Allen Robinson's back.
Yeah.
They got some players, David Montgomery. They're just going to have to protect him. I think that's going to be really the key for his success in his first year.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, my point being, the landing spot sometimes defines you more than you define yourself. And it's unfortunate.
A lot, yeah.
I'm a little nervous about where he landed and what, how far he can go here. But I will say this much: the Bears did the right thing. Absolutely, 100%. Moving up, seeing someone like that on your radar, you don't even have to get inside the top 10. You were a playoff team last year, and now you got a chance to bring in a kid that has a chip on his shoulder. We've seen what that did to players like Aaron Rodgers. This could go, really boom, and it could go bust. But for this year only, how can you not go over 7.5? You already said they made the playoffs last year. How can they not at least go 8-9 when you have Detroit in that division? Not really sold on Minnesota as well. What have they done that much better? And Green Bay is just a whole lot of question marks. I know Green Bay could probably beat the Bears twice with me at quarterback. It's just the way Green Bay versus Chicago works. But you gotta like their chances to at least go 8-9. The over 7.5. You got to pay a little juice minus 125. But I like that number. That's one that I would take, especially a playoff team. This one just seems sneaky low for me.
Yeah, I think it's good. I tell you what, the best one I like on the board, though, is the week 1 starter. I don't think there's any way Andy Dalton is. I mean, at plus 160, like you're talking about the over, you got to bet into minus 125. You get the week 1 starter plus 160. I think that's a wrap.
Well, I only and I'm not going to play it for this reason. I'm just this conspiracy pessimist. I believe they probably gave Andy some type of handshake before they went up and got Fields and said, listen, we'll let you at least start week 1, but then you're out. Yeah,
it could be. And then he's like the week 2 starter.
It's just, you never know with these teams and the kind of deals they made in the back room, because Andy went there thinking he was going to be the starter after they didn't trade for Wentz.
Yeah, we got to listen. Thanks for checking in, man. Asking if we did the winners in the FCS playoffs yet. Not yet. We're going to do that right after this segment. We're going to talk a little bit more about the NFL, and then we're going to get into the FCS Final Four semifinals. Cannot wait. Appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, a couple minutes. Let's round out the quarterback talk with the draft and with Mac Jones. Real quick, to win the AFC East, plus 333 now, tied with Miami. The Patriots are. Can he lead the Patriots back to the top of the AFC East? Win total is 9. The over is at minus 134. So the public liking that. And then the week 1 starter for Mac Jones plus 300 to overtake Cam Newton. And then rookie of the year 10-1. And I think
no, and no.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think the best number that I like there probably is the win total. I don't think there's any chance he starts week 1. The rookie of the year, I think, is really tough because I think Bill Belichick wants to be a power running football team. I think Mac Jones is going to be a bit of a distributor. I don't wouldn't be surprised if the quarterback, even when it's Newton or Jones, whoever it is, throws the ball 12, 15 times a game, man. Like, I think they're just going to try and pound teams up front. And I don't think that that's conducive to putting up huge numbers, which you need to kind of win this Rookie of the Year stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I love the landing spot for Mac Jones, but we all know he kind of rose on that meteoric rise. He was nowhere in the top. He wasn't even guaranteed Alabama starter at the beginning of the year. And, I like his arm. I like the kid. But I think this is a great landing spot for him. So he can sit back for a year or so. He's one that I think you put back there and just start to learn under Josh McDaniels. And you roll him out after Cam Newton's done. The only way you roll him out there, they tried it a little bit with Stidham last year. If Cam Newton is that terrible once again, because he was terrible last year, you might see him, at the end of some games, maybe by week 8, 9. But Mac Jones is a little bit of a project, and they're going to need to work on him. So no to any bets on him. Yes, to potentially the over 9. I like that as well, Drums. I just think they are set up to try and win some ball games. And by putting Mac Jones in, I think you're actually set up to lose some ball games. So yeah, I kind of like the over 9. I think Cam plays a lot this year, if not the whole year, and we see Mac in 2022.
Yeah, I think that the over 9. I definitely think they can get there, but I also think that I like the plus 132 to make the playoffs. I think the Patriots are going to be back this year. They lost a ton of people last year to COVID. And opt-outs and injuries on that defense. They get a lot of those people back. They spent a ton of money, in the offseason, and I think that they're geared up, and I think they can definitely make the playoffs. I don't think they can win the division. I don't think the plus 333 is in play. They could, wouldn't surprise me, but I think all three of those teams are going to be good. So I don't love the value there. But the plus 132 to make the playoffs, I think they can get in there. I think there's enough teams around the AFC that I expect to drop off a little bit. And I think the Patriots can sneak in there. But I agree with you on Mac Jones. I'm not sure how much he's going to play early in the year. And even when he does, I don't think he's going to be the focal point of the offense.
Yeah, and you're right there. And I just don't like the weapons they have outside. I know they got Jonnu Smith. I know they've kind of focused on the tight end position, but Mac Jones, has a good arm. I think that's the best we can say about him. But, he needs weapons. He's going to be a guy that you're not going to make a lot more out of, the pocket. And I just don't – running back position is – I don't like it. Yeah, it's not his time yet.
Yeah, 100%. But listen, I like a lot of these quarterbacks, and I like a lot of landing spots. Definitely going to be a fun year. But let's talk about, before we move on to the FCS, I want to talk a little bit just about some plays overall in the futures market that I like, and you can give me some that you like, where I think there is some value. Let's start with Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers, a lot of the Green Bay stuff was off the board because he wants out, and I believe he's out. I thought that this was going to happen last year. He played the good soldier. He got through the year. They got pretty far, but he sees Tom Brady go out there and control his destiny and go to an organization that's going to build around him, take his input, do what he wants, and win a Super Bowl, right? And I think he wants that same thing. Divisional odds, Green Bay still minus 125 to win the NFC North. Do you see any scenario where Rodgers comes back and they win that division?
I do. Green Bay has all the cards. They own his contract. He can sit out for all they care, right? They got Justin Love there. Like, I could see a stalemate at some point, and he just walks back in the door. I could. I do think there's a lot of, it's in the best interest of both teams, in my opinion, to move on. I saw something really interesting. I don't know if you saw this too. Bart Starr, Brett Favre both played 16 seasons for the Green Bay Packers.
And then they're out of there, yeah.
Last year was Aaron Rodgers, 16. Nobody makes it to 17 in Green Bay.
Yeah, I think he's good as gone, man. I wouldn't touch anything with the Packers, even though I do think, if he does go to Denver and the Packers get, a Bridgewater back in the deal, I do think Green Bay's good enough and there's enough people around to where, Green Bay can be competitive without Aaron Rodgers. They're going to get a haul for him. They're going to get, 4 first-round picks. You know what I mean? If they move him. So – I don't think it's going to be the demise of the Packers. It might be a 1-year reset kind of thing, but I don't think there's a ton of value on the Packers. Too much uncertainty there. A couple teams I thought that have good drafts and a couple plays that I like. One of them is, who we talked about, right? I think the Denver Broncos, with, the Aaron Rodgers rumors swirling, Right now, the over is 8.5, and that's minus 155. So you got to bet into it. But what I like more is the plus 149 to make the playoffs. I think even with Teddy Bridgewater, this team can make the playoffs. If they get Aaron Rodgers, it's a complete wrap. And you're getting it at plus 149 right now. But love that they went out and got Williams, the kid from North Carolina. So that offense is just completely stacked now. You got Williams in the backfield. You got Noah Fant. You got Jerry Jeudy. You got Cortland Sutton coming back. You got KJ Hamler, right? As long as they can get Drew Lock out of the way, which looks like they're going to be able to. Their defense was very banged up last year, much like San Francisco. They get a lot of those guys back. So I think Denver is definitely a play-on team. Love what they did in the draft and getting Williams. And that offense, if they get Aaron Rodgers, watch out, because that AFC West is going to be a lot of fun with him and Mahomes in the same division.
Yeah, I agree. I got a couple myself here that I kind of circled, highlighted. I'll start with make the playoffs. Gonna hate me, but I just think the Cowboys at minus 150 is such a nice, juicy play. They won't win the Super Bowl. Don't worry, Eagles fans. But man, they're the better, if not the best team in the division. I think they did themselves pretty well by dropping back and getting Parsons and landing that cornerback around too. So they addressed the defense. Now, will those guys pan out? I don't know, but at least they did the smart and right things. Minus 150 is a good number for them to make the playoffs. Don't forget, 7 teams make the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. So, you're half the – yeah, I think good chance. And another team I really like to make the playoffs next year, the Chargers. I like what they did in the draft as well. And you saw what they did with Justin Herbert. They can't win close games, but maybe that's starting to change. And all they got to do is flip the script on 1 or 2 of those. I think they're better than Denver. I think they're better than Las Vegas. The second place team in that division, plus 149, you're getting pretty good odds to make the playoffs. I like them. Those are 2 teams that didn't make it last year. Always know how it goes. About 50% of teams that didn't make it, there's always a 50% turnaround in playoff teams. So I looked at 2 teams that didn't make it, who I think are the highest potential to make it.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's, a good insight. I have a couple long shots to make the playoffs that I like too. I'm going to throw them at you. I already talked about the Colts no playoffs. I think you can get the Colts no playoffs at plus 163, which I think is tremendous value. The under 10 is at minus 134, but I would much rather do the no playoffs at plus 163 and get the bigger payout, because I don't think that's a team that's going to the playoffs. That offensive line is not the same. Was not the same last year, and then Costanzo retires. Now you have a quarterback, Carson Wentz, who just holds on to the ball and makes your offensive line miserable. So I think there's going to be some challenges there in Indy. And they didn't even address the offensive line in the first round. They went with the pass rush. I think that defense, got a little bit exposed towards the end of the year, like the under there. I already talked about the Miami over, but 2 teams to make the playoffs. I'm going to bounce these 2 off you, Dave, real quick. I want your initial reaction. Buy or hold on these 2 teams to make the playoffs. Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers plus 260.
Yeah. Listen, the Saints are, who knows, right? And
Jameis, the Saints are Jameis.
Yeah.
The Saints are Jameis. The Falcons are the Falcons. They still have no defense, right? They're just going to go up 40 points and lose every game. It's a weaker division, and I think that they can make some noise, man. I like what Matt Rule's doing. He goes out and gets J.C. Horn. I think there's I think 260 is a pretty good number for them. And now I have an even longer shot, Dave. Wait till you hear this one. Ready?
Yep.
The Bengals plus 400 to make the playoffs, baby. Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow's back.
I don't hate it. I'm such a big fan of Joe Burrow. I think they're building and this. They get 4 wins last year with him only playing half the season. So I don't hate it though.
You look around the AFC, man, and there's a lot of teams I feel like they're going to be worse. You know what I mean? Like you look at like the Raiders, even in the division. Like I think Pittsburgh's going to drop off.
Yep.
Is Cleveland going to be as good as they were last year? They have benefited off a pretty easy schedule. I think there's a chance. I haven't bet it yet, but I think there's some chance that the Bengals could sneak in and surprise some people. Plus 400. I think that's pretty good odds, man. Like I think that's pretty good odds.
I like it. And I mean, I remember early in the season they played a Thursday night game against Cleveland, and it was back and forth like 42, 38, something. And that's when they were healthy, and you could see the potential that team kind of Brains, it was all defense for me last year. They really, really couldn't stop anybody. Yeah, and they've made some improvements there. So, yeah, I don't mind it. 400.
Plus
You got to take
400, I think
chances.
is awesome value there.
Yeah.
And then two under teams I have, two more. The Bills under 10.5 is at plus 127. We talked about the two teams, the Patriots and Miami, in the AFC East getting better. The Bills are going to have that first place schedule this year. I think there's some chance that they go under. I mean, I could see them being a 10-17 next year.
Yeah. Well,
and you're getting plus money.
It's a tougher division, put it that way. So, and first place schedule. Yep.
Tougher division, first place schedule. And then lastly, this one's minus 155, so they might have set the number too high. I think they did as well. The Houston Texans, 4.5. I'm going under. I think 3-14 is the best case scenario they can ask for. They have Tyrod Taylor at quarterback.
Yeah.
It's just bad. Here's my question with the Texans, right? The real key is, does Spencer Rattler stay in school?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he's the number one. They're saying Sloman is out of USC, but but they're the Texans, so they're probably looking at Rattler. But no, the chance to get paid like that. If you're one, you're going.
It'll be interesting. Yeah, to see if they call up Eli Manning and be like, "Hey, help me out, help me get through this."
Hey, I'll throw one last one out there before we switch over, and that is my defensive rookie of the year. I like Zaven Collins. I'm in love with the linebacker.
That's a good one.
Got great value where they got him. I was hoping he went to the second round. I saw some cases when he did, no shot. He didn't even get past 20. And if they made something out of Jordan Hicks, look what they'll do with a special talent in Zaven Collins. You're getting plus 1,100. He's just got to outperform someone like Parsons and Jalen Phillips, who may get the sack totals. But I think this guy will get the tackle totals, and he'll shine on that field. Linebackers, you're getting great value at plus 1,100.
Yeah, love that play, man. Because like I said, he's going to fill up the stat sheet. And when they vote on this stuff, they're going to look at the stat sheet. We see, they look at sacks, they look at tackles, and I think that he's a player too, man. He's a player. They got a good one there. It's a shame they're in the NFC West because that division's like murderer's row.
It is. And listen, I know we promised to go right to FCS. Let me just, sprinkle in Dynasty draft coming up. A lot of great players taken from this draft. This is one of the better ones we've seen in a while. There's a consensus top 3. And I'm telling you, it varies on the team you're doing. But let me just roll it out there and give you the reason why I think Najee Harris is your first pick. In one league, I'm going Pitts because I have no tight end and I have a good running back core. So it really does matter what your current status is. But if you're starting new, I like Najee Harris. I go back to 2015, first running back taken was Gurley. 2016, Zeke. 2017, Fournette and CMC was right behind him. 18, Saquon Barkley. 19, Josh Jacobs. And last year, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. There's no misses on the first running back taken in the last 6 years in the NFL. Najee Harris is not going to be missed. He's your safest one. He's the fastest pass to 300-plus carries. He's the only guy they got. Lifespan of a running back, I know it's not high, but if you can at least get these first few years out of Najee Harris, then decide what you want to do with him. I think he's ultimately your best pick. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the QB has licorice arm. So, I mean, I think that's a real it's a real nice play because they're going to have to run the ball. They can't throw the ball down the field. The Steelers obviously trying to commit to being, a power running team, going out and getting Harris. And Harris is a guy that can do it all. We talked about filling up the stat sheet. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can do a ton of stuff. He's going to make that team more dynamic. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and then we'll go. I think Chase and Pitts are game changers, and you can't go wrong at 2 and 3. Going out at 4, got your choice of Waddle and Devontae Smith. I don't think you go to any length to get a quarterback yet. I don't see Lawrence going until 7, 8 later in the draft. So have some fun. Let us know what you got coming around Dynasty. I'm number 1 pick in 2 of them. That's not great, but I'm touring. And it's gonna be fun.
Najee. Yeah, not bad at all, man. I think it's a great situation for him to succeed. And, listen, the lifespan ain't great on running backs, but you got to play them. So, you know what I mean? You got to fill the slots. So that's what you do, and they really make the difference. All right, let's move over to the FCS. We got Yeah, we got about 10 minutes left, so let's get into the FCS playoffs, Final Four. And I couldn't be happier with these two matchups. Went 2-2 last week. It ended up a little bit on the green because we had the money line on Sam Houston, so that helped us out. Them taking out the Bisons. This is a game we have Delaware +9 at South Dakota State. The Jackrabbits. Our total is 38. This number has actually gone down this morning, so the money is coming in on Delaware. It was funny; it was kind of going up all week, and now today, the day of the game, money coming in on Delaware. So you can see this anywhere from 7.5 to 9. It was at 9 late last night. And Dave, this is a matchup. I think these two teams are very, very similar in how they're built. Both teams very good against the run. They win with their defensive front. The Blue Hens have been doing it all year. Both teams strong running game. Pierre Strong for South Dakota State, Lee for Delaware. They rely on those guys, and then both teams very athletic quarterbacks. Mark Gronowski, I raved about him last week. He's very athletic, can do it with his legs, can throw the ball down the field. He's been a tremendous addition to this team as a true freshman, and he's the reason that they're the #1 overall seed. And then, of course, you get Nolan Henderson on the other side with the Delaware Blue Hens, does all the same types of things, can throw in the run, can use his mobility, can make plays. Two very, very similar teams. South Dakota State did not cover against Southern Illinois last week. That was one of the games I got wrong. I look at a total like this, 38, and I get an undefeated team like Delaware, getting a ton of points, more than a touchdown. I'm on the Blue Hens today. I don't love the money line. I think that I'll be rooting for them to win, but I'm not sure they can get the job done on the road. But I think they're going to keep this game close. I mean, your implied total here, your implied score is probably somewhere around like 24-15, 23-15, something like that. It's going to be a very low-scoring game. Delaware, we saw last week, played a very similar team in Jacksonville State as far as very tough up front, likes to run the ball, tough defensive line, right? Delaware struggled to run the ball. They were still able to make enough plays. They went up 14-0, 120-14. And I think you're going to see a similar type game, 20-14, 34-point total. I think the points over 7 are incredibly valuable here. I'm on the Blue Hens today. Where are you laying with this one, Dave?
I'm on the Blue Hens too. Listen, I went 3-1 last week once I flipped a little bit and listened to you on saying Houston State. This is the one I lost, which was with South Dakota State. I think they told me something last week. 16 first downs against Southern Illinois, a porous, terrible defense. They could only muster 16 first downs. They were out-possessed 35-22 and change on each side. Southern Illinois dominated the ball. The difference was 3 turnovers. Southern Illinois had 3, South Dakota State had 0, and it ended up costing them 31-26. The first round, South Dakota got a gift, a cupcake. They win 31-3, but they just don't look the makings of a #1 seed, and starting to really show as they play the better teams. And you got a team like Delaware today. They're 5th overall in point differential. They had averaged only 11.6 points per game given up. It's continued in the playoffs as they've only let up 24 in their first 2 games. They're tough. You've already went over, the Delaware brand of football in the low. We've talked about this in the past. If you anticipate a low-scoring, close game, why not take the points? I actually think Delaware is prime here. I think they're a team that could pull off the upset. Not going to take the money line, but I really do like the Blue Hens with the number today. I think you're starting to see a little bit of leaking oil from the #1 seed. Very good position for Delaware today.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, you think the Hens are live. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they won. I just think that, the better play is the points, which I think you agree with me on. Yep. But I think they can definitely win this game. When we talked about last week, why I like them against Jacksonville State, because like I said, very similar type of team, tough defensive line. But one of the main points I had was, and why I went with Delaware, was Delaware has shown this season that they can play these tight games. They can make enough plays even when they're not running the ball effectively, when the engine of their offense isn't functioning properly. They're scrappy. They scratch and claw. They find a way to get the job done. And I think that, when you get into a tough playoff game like this, that mental toughness can take you pretty far. I think South Dakota State, a lot more mentally tough than Jacksonville State last week, but I think it's going to be, I wouldn't be surprised if this was a field goal game either way. So I think the points are a no-brainer.
Yeah, and I think South Dakota State's a little overvalued on defense. They rank 83rd out of 97th nationally in havoc rate. And if you guys understand that they're just not in the backfield much. They're very, they don't have passes defended. They don't have tackles for loss, forced fumbles. They're just a very bend but don't break type of team. And as you play better teams, that's really the metric that I think will come back and haunt them. So I do like Delaware in this game. I think, again, South Dakota State's just a little overvalued. Give me those points.
Yeah, I love it, dude. Pens bleed blue for the 302 all the way to the finals. Hopefully they get the win today. I'll be rooting for them for sure, but my money is definitely on the points. And then we go to the second game today. We got James Madison laying a point. This line's kind of moved around at Sam Houston State. Totals 46. So we don't expect a low scoring game as much as the previous one, but these are two teams that can do it on both sides of the ball. These are probably the two best rushing defenses in the FCS. Sam Houston, we saw the big question with them last week was going to be, can they handle the physicality of the Bisons and their power running game? Are they going to be able to shut down? They shut down Nichols. They shut down Nicholls State. They shut down Incarnate Word, two of the best rushing offenses in the FCS this year, and they end up blowing those teams out. But we knew the Bisons, from a physicality standpoint, were on a completely another level. And I think Sam Houston answered the bell. Sure, the Bisons got their yards. I think they had a little bit over 100 yards rushing, but they couldn't get anything done outside of that. Cam Miller, 2 interceptions. The offense was pretty anemic. The only thing that kept the Bisons in this game was the special teams. Their 2 touchdowns was they went down early. I think it was 17-2 at one point, and they got the kickoff return for a touchdown. Christian Watson took it to the house, and that got the party started. Then they get a 3-and-out, and then they return the punt for a touchdown, and that got them right back into the game. But ultimately, the Sam Houston State defense was able to make all the stops. They were very impressive in that game. And the other thing that impressed me about Sam Houston State was quarterback Eric Schmidt. We talked about, as long as Schmidt doesn't turn the ball over, they're going to be in this game. It was the Bearcats who got the early turnovers against the Bisons, made them pay, got out to an early lead. And they really used Eric Schmidt well on a lot of read options. They used his legs to get key third downs. And I think he brings another element to the offense. So Sam Houston State, both these teams, I think, are the perfect package of, they have offense. They can put up points in bunches. We saw James Madison. Their offense struggled a little earlier in the season. There are whispers of Cole Johnson getting benched. Listen, they come out in the playoffs and put up 31 and 34. They put up 34 last week against North Dakota, a game that I got wrong, but I was concerned about North Dakota's defense, and that we did see that play out. So, listen, this is a game that's pretty much a coin flip, I feel like. I'm going with the home team. I'm on Sam Houston money line. I got it at plus 104 a little bit earlier in the week. But I think Sam Houston State, with the home field advantage, can take this one home. Casey Keeler, old Delaware coach. We might have an all Delaware finals in the FCS.
Yeah, so Sam Houston's, they finally slayed their dragon, right? They were 0-4 against North Dakota State in FCS playoffs. And what a better way to do it. They had to score late, even though they, like you document, they pretty much dominated that game on the stat sheet, but they still had to find a way to overcome that, and they did it. Those better teams, those classic teams like the Bison, just find ways to win when they're not on the best game, and they couldn't. Sam Houston State did it, and that was awesome. And now you look at, they got another revenge coming up today. Their worst loss in the history of the playoffs, in their school's history, was to James Madison when they lost 65-7 back in 2016. You think that's being floated around their clubhouse today? You think that's around all week while they're practicing? You better damn believe it. So they already got rid of one of those curses or those dragons. Now they got another, and I think they're going to be up to the challenge. Like you, I like Sam Houston State today. I just like what they do. They're a better passing team. They're 6th in the nation passing the ball, where JMU is a better rushing defense. I think that's going to be the difference in this game. The two strengths, JMU's rushing attack, 243 per game, is 4th in the nation. But we already know Sam Houston State lets up 68, and even last week against North Dakota State, when they tried to pound the ball, they couldn't muster more than 130 yards, 3.2 a carry. You can try. You might hit 1 out of 10, but Man, this team's so good up front. Their front seven is so solid. I think that's where they win this game. They control that strong rushing attack from JMU. Eric Schmid has a big game passing the ball. He's decent running the ball, too. He had a rushing touchdown last week, one of 6 rushing TDs on the season. He's 6th nationally in TDs on the season, 4th nationally in yards. I really like the Sam Houston State team. I like money line as well. What's the +1 going to do me? All right, if I lose, or I'll push. But I'd rather take the little plus money. You might even get it at -102 instead of -110. Give me the money line as well.
Yeah, and one of the key stats I heard this morning, which I don't have the exact number, but the home teams are just extremely successful in this spot in these semifinals. The home teams are just a huge advantage there historically, and I think that's all the difference. This game's in James Madison. I might be on a different side, but I do have some Sam Houston +500 to win this whole thing. So I'm happy that that's still alive, and I think it's going to be alive after today. I think you hit the nail on the head with Schmidt. He's a guy, top 5 in passing yards, top 4 in yards per completion. And they use his legs in those high leverage situations, these big third downs. They couldn't really run the ball with their running backs that well against North Dakota State, and they were still able to convert because of Eric Schmidt's legs. So I think they can do it all on offense. They're very, very tough on defense. So I like them here, man.
They spread the ball. Right, they got 6 receivers with over 20 catches. Jaquez Ezzard's a big-time receiver, 81 yards a game, which is big at this level, especially in this short of his season. 6 touchdowns. They're good all-around offense, and I think that's the difference today.
Yeah, definitely. Dan Green checking in, man. He said he needs some college funds. Yeah. So hopefully we're on the right side so we can get the kids to a good college. Definitely. Thanks for checking in, Dan. Dan does a great show on Heat Ratio Sports Network, Flyer and Ice. So make sure you check that out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll get all the content on the Heat Ratio Sports Network, including every betting for breakfast. But yeah, so I'm excited about these games, Dave. I think, it's going to be so much fun, watching these 2 games, and I'm glad that it's finally getting the coverage that belongs on the ESPN. But I think this matchup here, James Madison and Sam Houston State, we could see the champion, coming out of this matchup here, and I think it's going to be Sam Houston State. And I wouldn't mind the +500, right?
I think you'd like that.
If I can hit the future, that's going to help. But let's wrap things up, man. We're a little bit over an hour, so we're running a little bit late, but we have our 3 plays, and we got to give the people our 3 plays. I'm going to let you kick things off, Dave. You can just run them 1, 2, 3 if you want, or we can go back and forth, however you want to do it.
Yeah. No, it's all good. There's a couple of plays out there that I do like. I've been eyeing up, and I'm going to go into the a little different, but I'm going to fade Max Scherzer today. He's a guy who's been pitching very well of late, but they're playing the New York Yankees. Corey Kluber has been pitching even a little bit better. I won't get into all the advanced metrics on why I like this matchup, but I just like the Yankees lineup at home versus Max Scherzer. And you're getting the Yankees, a light number, 120, 118. You can find in certain places. They're playing better ball of late. They blew a game the other night for Garrett Cole. That bullpen, stay away from that. But as long as Corey goes deep, I think they get a few off Max. I think they win this game in a low-scoring game. I'll pass them back and forth.
I love it. I'm going to go to golf. This one, these guys didn't tee off yet. I'm going to go Luke List over Stallings. List has been better off the tee, approached by almost 3 strokes, right? Better approach. Strokes gained tee to green. He's been better, by a country mile. Stallings' putting's been in another stratosphere, right? So we're going to bet into that. We're going to bank on the regression. I think we get paid here in this matchup. My outright's not doing so great, so I need these matchups to hit, and I think it starts with List today over Stallings. I think it's at like -122, somewhere in that neighborhood. It's definitely a play for me.
Yeah, I love that. When I look at those strokes gained tee to green, I'll also stay a little bit in the golf world. They just are about to tee off, and we are looking at my pick, and it's a dog, and that's Russell Knox over Corey Connors. Really like his tee to green game is a little bit stronger this week than Corey Connors. All around, you're getting +130 on the number. Give me Russell Knox in a golf matchup this afternoon. It's about to tee off, so got to get that one in fast.
Hard Knocks. Put it in the app right now. This one you got a little bit of time on. UFC tonight. Marina Rodriguez, the main event against Wooderson, the karate hottie. Marina is a minus 190 favorite, a minus 200. It could be right around now. I got it at minus 190. I'm taking the favorite in this matchup. Listen, Rodriguez wakes up and chooses violence. She derailed the hype train on Amanda Ribas. She was supposed to be the next big thing in the women's division. And I think that, it's a step up in comp here with her taking on Wooderson. But I think the path for Wooderson to win is kind of by grappling. And I just don't think that's going to hold up. I think Rodriguez is going to really do some damage. I think it's could be, the kind of fight that where you see like Wooderson kind of struggling to control her and kind of nullify her offense. It might be a fight where Wooderson, has more control, is kind of like in control of the fight more. But when she's not in control, I think there's just going to be a ton of damage by Marina here. I would just play the 190, minus 190. Don't try and get cute with the props and guess whether Rodriguez is going to get the KO or win the decision. Just take the 190 to the bank. That's what the market's giving us. We're going to take it, but I like Marina here.
Awesome. That's going to be a fun little matchup tonight. UFC's got a good product almost every week now. My last one's going to be the Atlanta Braves over the Philadelphia Phillies. Phillies on a hot streak, but you know what you've been seeing. You've been seeing teams that, they've won most games by one run. They blew it open last night. But Vince Velasquez versus the Atlanta Braves is a matchup made in heaven for bettors. I'm a Phillies fan. We all are. But he stinks. And especially when you get to the second time around, I expect the Braves. I also like the Braves team total over in this one of 5-1. It's just not a good matchup. Vince has been pitching better. He'll get through them once, but when they get the second time around, watch out.
All right, real quick. Braves alt team total 11. You going over?
Under, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Velasquez, we're never going to get rid of this guy. I'm going to wrap things up, and I'm going to cheat a little bit here on my third one, but I like this play so much, I would feel bad not making it part of my 3-packs, and that's the Delaware Blue Hens. We already talked about it. Take the points. I think this is the best play. I think Sam Houston State is the better team that's going to win today, and I don't think the Blue Hens might not win outright, but I think getting over a touchdown is just tremendous odds here with this Blue Hens team. So bank on that one. Take that one to the bank. That is my favorite play in the FCS, and I just had to include it. It's so good.
Yeah. Hey, dude, it's going to be a fun day. Great day. Can't wait.
It is. Tremendous day lined up today. And listen, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you're following us on Twitter. Get all our plays. We do the golf betting show on Wednesday nights. Come check us out. Hang out on YouTube. Hit us up in the comments. Let us know any questions you have, any plays that you like. We want to hear what you're thinking as well. Make sure you like and subscribe the Heat Ratio Sports Network on YouTube. That is really the best way to support us. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Dave, Macho Man, you got any closing thoughts for the people?
Nah, bro. Just gonna, I'll give one. Happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there. I know it's one of those weekends that your name's on the calendar, but we celebrate you every single week, every single day. And thanks for letting us watch a little sports and put some money on it.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, the mothers are the real MVPs of the world.
They are.
Let's not lie. So listen, get these bets in your sports book app. Win some cash. Buy her a little something extra, right? She deserves it 100%, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Let's get this money.